Hello all. In episode 3 of Will It Still Fly, I was intending to do this. This is the quad I call El Cheapo, made at the time out of some of the cheapest components I could find. Motors, props, frame, very bendy, KK2 again. But everyone had some sort of 450, didn't they? And let's face it, that's going to fly. It's not going to be very good, but who cares? So then I thought, what didn't everybody had? And that would be my little wooden quad. Little history behind this. I had one of the HobbyKing mini quads back before mini quads were mini quads. It was just this tiny little quad made out of fiberglass, and I had two of the frames and I smashed them up, and it came with these tiny little 1811 2900 motors that run on 2S. This was the top flight of mini quad that you could do at the time. 3S motors just weren't available, at least for any reasonable price, so the whole 3S mini quad thing just wasn't there. So after smashing it up the second time, I got a bit fed up and I took old tricopter legs, and this is the tricopter sort of platform I have for putting the batteries on. I decided to make this up. Now the only way I measured it up was by doing a size of this 10 by 10 mil and putting the 5-inch props on and seeing if they would touch, and if they didn't, it was the right size. And so we came up with this H quad. It's got 6 amp plush ESCs, which I lifted off the other one, KK2, an XT60, which this has been designed to put a 1600 milliamp hour 2 cell on. Now things that are missing off here, which I've pilfered for parts over the years. VTX was at the back here. I think this was either an old Bosscam 200 or an Emotion RC 600. I also had a FreeSky DR42 receiver here with PPM input, which I've used somewhere else, and I had an 808 camera I used as a live camera and recording one. So there's a few bits missing. Also, if I'm remembering it right, it felt like some of these motors were wrong. It was getting the wobbles, because it was flying quite smoothly originally, and then it was like some of the motors were sort of spinning up and they get to max revs and then they fall off, so they go vut, vut, vut. They're sort of pulsing at the top end. I think I've got one spare in my box of bits still, so there's a couple of bits to put back, and then I'll try spinning up the motors and see what we get. Part of the reason I'm wanting to do this one is I'm going to steal the 6 amp plushes away for the new WeWing build and something else. And really, although it's something I built and I'm quite happy with at the time, it's not something I'm ever going to come back to. So I'm quite happy to rip this apart and make use of the little plushes again. But let's get testing and see what we can do. So here we are, and we've got it built up out of the bits I found. Fortunately, I found I had an X4 SB, which I've got into CPPM. Look at the amount of wiring there. I've found the AKK 600 line camera. That's a nice camera, that one. That should be absolutely fine. I've got bits of hot glue remnant all over the place. This already had this power cable in for an Emotion 600, so I've put that in using, again, this AKK skew that I was testing the other day. These are the best 5030 gem fans I could find. They've all got little chunks out of them and stuff, but I didn't have anything else. My main worry are these lipos. This is the 1600 2Ss I've got. This has been on the charger for a while, and I found them, and I found that they weren't put in storage charge, and they were probably quite knackered to begin with anyway, and they've sat there and their cells have been way out and they've been coming up, but I'm not very confident of getting much out of those. So small field, I think, and not too far away, because I think this is going to go down one way or the other. But it should fly. I tested all the motors out one by one, just going full throttle, and there was no sort of pulsing, so in theory it should be okay. We'll find out. There it is, big old mess. Let's see if it comes back even messier when we get to the field. Join me there. Okay, as per tradition, I did a quick line of sight hover, and the quad felt wobbly but flyable. The problem was the battery, the alarm started beeping almost instantly and increasing in tempo quite quickly, which indicates that that battery is not long for this world. But I thought, well, let's try and get a quick flight in and we'll see what happens. So off I went. Now, it wasn't very nice to fly, to tell you the truth. It just kind of felt all wrong. The corrections needed all over the place and the wind was blowing it around a lot. Yeah, it wasn't nice. Looks a lot smoother externally, doesn't it? But I persevered and I got about 5 minutes out of that beeping battery. We even managed to try a roll, and that was full stick over, that was the speed of it. And finally we got the confidence up to do an actual full lap of this little field. Now down this way we have a nice wind behind us, so it's a little bit smoother here, but I have to say it was still quite difficult to keep direction. Now I remember this as flying okay, and now I'm starting to question whether this is sort of the rose tinted spectacles and this was as good as it got back then, and I thought it was good, because now it feels absolutely horrible. You notice I don't go too deep into the corner here because I'm just not confident of being able to get this thing round properly. I mean, yeah, it's suffering from lack of power. It's only 2S at the best of times, let alone one that's constantly beeping about its voltage. But yeah, just awful to fly. Everything about it was was fairly hateful, I'm afraid. I couldn't find any redeeming features with it. I guess at some point though it must have been okay. I just can't imagine how. Lower standards back in the day, I guess. Now I did manage to find a bit of external footage without any wind noise, just so you can hear what I heard, which is quite useful for telling where you are, because we had a constant beeping of this thing going around all the time. Now just after that point the beeping got really intense, so I was bringing it around for a landing and nope, ran out of power. Well, that was truly awful, and that was the good battery. I'll put the old one, bad one in it anyway, just see what happens. Yep, so the bad battery, really bad. Pretty much shut down on me. Fortunately, I managed to capture this on the external camera. That's what it looks like. Splat. Well, it pretty much shows us what to do when it goes really low on LiPo. It just shuts down. And that one broke the motor mount. Well, I say the motor mount. The zip tie here and one of those props, and there's a prop missing there. Good as new, look. So yeah, it flew, but ugh. If you want to replicate that, just throw a bag of stones up in the sky and see how that flies. So no regrets or hesitation about stripping this down for parts now and getting some space back in my hangar. I will catch you on the next one. Bye.